Welcome to my second ever solo cast. I just felt like doing a solo cast for this episode, and I'm talking about reflection. Actually, everything in our life being a reflection of us back to us. So it's kind of an interesting, windy conversation. But I also talk about the things that have been really nourishing in my life lately. So, nourishing to my soul, my body, my mind. And I wanted to share these things because they are free, other than time. Yes, time is money, but these are really simple and free things that I do that are helping me with my energy. Mostly that's where I notice like really incredible energy and also feeling strong and healthy, both physically and mentally, and really emotionally too. So I wanted to share that with you. And I talk about red light therapy in this episode. So I'm going to be talking a lot about red light therapy because it's so helpful. And I think it's the thing that's making the biggest difference for me right now. And you can get red light by going outside. So I talk about that in the episode. It's free, but you can also biohack it. And if you want to do that, if you want to check out Midwest Red Light Therapy, I love that company. It's where I get my blue blockers. It's where I got my game changer was the first red light therapy unit that I bought and from them. And I now have another one that I really like, a bigger one. So if you want to check them out, please use Nourished10 as your discount code to get your 10% off. And I hope that this episode is helpful. I hope that it gives you some information, at least some things to think about, or maybe some things that might be helpful to you. And I really appreciate you being here. So happy healing. I thought I would do a solo cast for this episode. You know, when I first started the Nurse Soul podcast, I thought I would do more solo casts. I thought that I would talk more about my work and nourishment and what nourishes people and nutritional therapy and all of that kind of thing. And I do get to do that on my YouTube channel. And I love that. I can have an idea or come up with something that's helpful for me in my life or for clients, and then create a video and put it on YouTube. And so that's really what's been going on my YouTube channel, is that I do some interviews there, but it's really more about health in general. And the podcast has really morphed, evolved into this beautiful space of talking about the soul. And I love doing the interviews. I mean, it really, what nourishes my soul is to be able to talk to other people about some of these important things like our health and nourishment, and also the soul and spiritual kinds of things. So I've absolutely loved it. I love being able to talk to all these different people. And I thought this time I would do a solo cast because there's been something on my mind that I've wanted to talk about. And I didn't think it was a great place when everything goes on YouTube. So the podcast will go on YouTube. But I thought it would be great to actually put this in a podcast. So I don't have any notes. There's a hurricane outside. Not really. There's a hurricane south of us. So we're getting a lot of really bad weather. But I just felt like I wanted to record this podcast. And so I'm doing that without notes. So we'll see where it goes. And I'm hoping by the end of it, I'd like to talk more about some of the things that are super nourishing to me right now that might be helpful for some of you all. But I wanted to start with something that's been coming up really for years. I've been working on this idea that everything is a reflection. And so everywhere in my life, the things that I like, the things that I don't like, but particularly the things that are upsetting to me, I have been working with those things as a reflection. So my thinking is that it wouldn't even be on our radar. So if you are complaining about your neighbor, you have a really bad relationship with somebody at work or a partner, or you turn on the news and you're really disgusted by what you see. Sometimes that's pretty easy to get disgusted by some of the things that we see in our world. And so really owning that everything is a reflection. And so, including the things about which we are complaining or that we are disgusted by. And so, I was thinking about this. I've been thinking about it for a long time because it was part of my spiritual growth, I guess, where there was a point in my life. You know how they always say that swallowing the truth is like swallowing sand? So I had been through enough things in my life where I really, and most of you, if you don't already know, I'm an addict in recovery and have learned that I am kind of a smorgasbord addict and very high functioning. So it was easy for me to pretend like I wasn't an addict. But addicts are really good at hiding things from ourselves and not being completely honest. And so once you hit recovery, so you're either an addict and I guess in denial or you're an addict in recovery. Those are our two choices. And so once you hit recovery, you start realizing that it's important to be honest in every aspect of your life, which can be really challenging. I mean, it's challenging for anybody, I guess, but I'm just saying from an addict's perspective, one of the things that kept hitting me is as soon as I would feel like I was sure about something, 100% sure, I know this for a fact, the opposite would be shown to me to be equally true at the same time. And it was coming very fast and very furious. And I was really at this place, this kind of crossroads in my own spiritual journey of, you know, being super honest with myself. I had already come to terms with being in recovery, not completely. I wasn't completely clear about being an addict, but I had done enough clearing of things that I was realizing a lot was being stripped away. The things that I thought were really important about who I am. So that's kind of the thing, like who I am and what I believe and what's right and what's important and what's true. And I'm one of those people that's always a seeker of truth. And so for me, this particular part of my journey was feeling very, and I guess I would call that a self discovery journey too, like a healing journey, self discovery, recovery journey. All of those kinds of things would be included in that. And what was coming really fast was that not only can there be two opposing things can be true at the same time, but they can live within me at the same time. And that was just really, oh, it sort of feels like you are going to lose your mind. But I had a really incredible therapist that was partnering with me at that time, companioning me through that journey. And it was feeling like it was coming so fast and furious. And I said something to one of my favorite students. Mark I don't know what we were talking about, but I said something about, I knew that swallowing the truth could be like swallowing sand because I've experienced that in my life where it's a little bit of sand. They say, you know, no grit, no pearl for the oyster. It's the irritation of the sand, right? And he said, but you didn't know it would be like swallowing the whole damn beach. And I thought, you know what? It really isn't swallowing the whole damn beach. Later, I would experience that later in my recovery. But at this particular time, I was like, you know what? It's really not the whole beach. It feels like a bucket of sand at this point, like a big cup, maybe, or a big bucket at times, but it doesn't feel like the whole beach. And I can handle this. And this must be important in my journey. And I really pride myself on being somebody who can stay neutral um, in a lot of circumstances. And I can stay open to multiple ideas about something. I also am somebody who really likes the truth, wants to know the truth, the way. And so it was really disruptive, I guess, to discover that there's not one way necessarily. It's kind of like as a nutritional therapist, there is no one diet, which can be really disappointing. I believe that there are some things that are more helpful, more nutritious, and nutrient dense foods for people, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to eat them. If you are allergic to them, then we have to, avoid those foods. So I feel like there are so many nuances too around health and our health journey. Anyway, this idea of everything being a reflection. Let me circle back. So when we are upset about something or somebody, to be able to take a second, just a half a beat, to look at it with complete honesty around like what is it that's being triggered in me, what is it about me, my personality. Maybe this is a fear part of my personality. Is this really who I am? That kind of thing. If something is coming up for me, it's because that is in me. So if I'm disgusted by somebody on TV, if I dig a little bit deeper there and say, well, what is so disgusting to me? Well, I think that that person is probably a liar, is not telling the truth, is, what might I say about that person? Then it wouldn't even be on my radar if I didn't have liar capabilities inside of me, right? Of course. So it all kind of makes sense when you break it down. And you're like, well, yeah, of course. We all have all of these things inside of us. But isn't it, you might say, isn't it just that it's for us to be able to say, oh, I like this or I don't like that? Because we are made in a way to keep us safe. And so we move towards the things that feel good, that we like, that seem appropriate to us, that seem healthy, those kinds of things. Or we move, I mean, the idea is to move away from things that hurt us and are going to not allow us to live. But when it comes to these kinds of just being disgusted or upset with people and situations in our lives, to be able to look at it a little more honestly. I did think about this too. If you're just seeing something, like the other day, well, this has been a little while ago, but there's a really nice Mercedes that's somewhere in my area that I see kind of frequently. And one side of it is painted white and the other side is painted black. So I immediately thought, oh, why would you do that to such a nice car? I just wouldn't do that. And then my next immediate thought was, it's not my car. So it doesn't matter what I like or what I don't like. That's for that person to decide. And they obviously like it. I don't know if they've got a Joker thing going on or whatever, but they like it and that's cool. So sometimes do we not just see something or somebody or a situation just to say, oh, I like that, I like that haircut, or I like the way that somebody was really kind and held the door for somebody, those kinds of things where can we not just see what we like and see what we don't like and think about that as the brain trying to keep itself safe? Sure. And the next time you're complaining about somebody or something or a situation, I would invite you or encourage you to just take a half a second to think about what are the characteristics about that situation, that person, whatever it is, that are actually a reflection of something inside of you. And take it as an opportunity to do a little more of your own healing. That takes courage. It takes a little bit of time and it takes some awareness. And I think that's the whole thing about unconscious to conscious, bringing the unconscious to the conscious so that we can actually grow. And I think that's soul business. I'm not positive, could be wrong, but I think that's what our soul could be, what our soul is here to do, to to grow. And then I also think that we're really here to help each other. I think the most amazing thing that ever happens in the world is when people come together and help each other. It's one of the most beautiful things that happens in a tragedy, is when people come and they don't even ask questions about, what's your religion, what's your background, and like, nobody cares when there's a tragedy. We help each other. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things in humanity. And so I think that's part mostly, I think, why we're here. And on a soul level, I'm just wondering if all of this is a reflection, if everything around you is actually a reflection. So it's being reflected, you are being reflected back to you. And I really think we are probably, since the universe, I think of the universe being in us and us being in the universe. And if we are just the universe reflecting itself back to itself, then that's probably what's actually happening here on earth too, that we're just reflecting, that everything in your on your radar in your life is a reflection of what's inside of you being reflected back to you, just as same thing as we are a reflection of the universe back to itself, which is just super cool to think about. And also, we don't always have a lot of time to be thinking about that in those ways. So, really practically, simply, when you're irritated and pissed off next time, just to take a little bit of time to back up and say, hey, what are the characteristics that could possibly be a reflection here? A place where I could grow and I could see myself a little bit clearer. And I think that that takes courage, because I think that that kind of honesty is like swallowing sand. It's not comfortable, and it's not something that we usually do on the ready. I think you have to consciously be trying to do that, consciously working on that. So that's been on my mind, that's been on my heart, that's what I've been wanting to talk about. I would love to have a conversation with somebody else that's thinking about these things, about the world as a reflection, and that it's an opportunity. And I think that the happy good things too, those are all reflections of the happy beauty that's inside of us. So acknowledging those things as well. So if you or anybody you know wants to have a conversation with me about that, I'd love to do a whole series. And I wanted to talk about some of the things that are really nourishing to me right now. These kinds of conversations are really nourishing to me. I absolutely love getting to talk to amazing people. And 2 weeks ago or so now, was really, really struggling. I have a very stressful situation in my life, or I have had. It's getting better now, but it's been one of the most stressful things I've ever been through. And I've felt healthier and stronger through this than at any other time in my life, which is really amazing. I didn't, I felt pretty strong and healthy when I was going through, the death of my father and the death of my best friend and those kinds of things. But this time I feel really grounded and clear and healthy, like mentally, physically, emotionally, really healthy. And it just gets better and better. So I wanted to share with you how I've been doing that and why I've gotten so interested in circadian rhythms. Because what I have learned is, even if you don't really understand circadian rhythms, if you don't really understand why it's important to go outside barefoot, and if you can, if it's not, freezing where you are, if you can go even for just quick going out, because earthing, bare skin on the earth's surface, the benefits of earthing are instantaneous. So we're getting free electrons from the earth's surface through our skin, which helps us enormously to become more neutral, because we're all positively charged, a lot of us, because we're on electronics all the time because of the way that we live our lives. So I'm learning more and more about the circadian rhythm. I actually am getting a certification now in quantum biology because I just think it's fascinating. But I didn't really know what the science was. I just knew I was trusting some really good teachers that I have to just go outside. And you probably, if you know me at all, if you see any of my posts, I am absolutely religious about seeing sunrise. So that's a great place to start, is to get out in early morning light. Some of you will say, I can't do that. I'm on my way to work, or I'm in carpool line, or I work shifts that I can't get up, I can't see the sunrise. So I'm just going to say, do what you can. Start where you can, make it, if it's only a few seconds, a few minutes, then that is okay. You just start wherever you can start. And if you can at least get outside within the first 20 or 30 minutes of being up, once you get up, then I think that's the place to start. That's okay. The reason that it's so important to start the day with that early morning light is because it sets the tone for the rest of the day. Not just like, oh, it sets the tone for my day. It's a nice little ritual. No, no, no. I'm saying that the light from our sun, and even when it's cloudy, it's still available. So it doesn't matter whether it's rainy or cloudy or beautiful out, it doesn't matter. Snowing, it's fine, because you're really just wanting to get outside for that light. The information or code from the sunlight hits the retina of our eye and the receptors on our skin, and it takes that information to the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain, which is the master clock of the brain. And it starts a whole series of things. So when you do this consistently, then your body orients to the time of year, the place, the time of day. And so you're setting the rhythm for your circadian. The most important circadian rhythm, in my opinion, is honoring the light and dark. There are other circadian rhythms that go on in our bodies that I think are important, like when we eat, what we eat, those kinds of things. But really, the light, use sunlight to help you heal, and start with sunrise. I'm telling you, it will make a huge difference in your mood, in your sleep, in your hormones, in your health. It is, if you want optimal health, you've got to learn to use the light from our sun to help your body know where it is in space and time, what season it's in, and when it should make what in the body. So every single cell is going to need this information. The mitochondria need this information. And if you've got health issues, I'm telling you, you've got mitochondrial issues. How do I know? Because I had a lot of health issues, and they were mitochondrial issues. And you start to learn that no matter what, if you're going to heal at a deep level, you're talking about healing at the level of the cell. So it all roads lead back to quantum biology. It's quite fascinating. But to keep it really, really simple is to just get up in early morning light. And so right before sunrise, there's a high concentration of infrared light. So get up. Red light, I'm a big fan of red light therapy. If you haven't heard, Midwest red light therapy is the brand that I use. I love that company. They're really great company. So I love their red light therapy products. I also get my blue blockers from there. So if you're interested in that, absolutely check them out. Do your own research on red light therapy. I'm telling you, you're going to be amazed. Just look up a few studies. Look up at what red light therapy does to reduce inflammation. Unbelievable. And guess what? Oh, so if you want to go to Midwest Red Light Therapy and you want to get their products, make sure you use Nourished 10 to get your 10% off. But this isn't a commercial for that. I'm talking about red light that is free outside. You can go outside. It is available all year round. So that's how you can get your red light, which is just amazing. It has great benefits. If you start earthing, just go outside barefoot. Kick your shoes off. Well, you can't because you work these crazy hours and you're working at a wear shoes that you can kick off. It is virtually instantaneous, the benefits are. So you can do this, people. You can get out there. You can start using the sun to help you heal. You can pay attention, learn about circadian rhythms. I'm going to be doing a lot more in terms of classes and posts and free information and classes that we can all learn together and create our own pro healing plans. Join me for a class. I'm happy to have everybody join for a class, and we'll work on your own your own pro healing plan that includes all of these quantum techniques. And then, of course, we also talk about food because that's what I do. I'm a nutritional therapist. So we talk about the food, but all of these things that are keeping my energy really high. I wake up energized and ready to start the day. I'm telling you, it's it's the morning ritual and the red light and the earthing. Those are the big things. Now, hydration is important, but that's a whole class in and of itself, how to actually be hydrated. Minerals, because essential minerals, we don't make the minerals in our body. That's what essential means, right, everybody? So essential amino acids, protein, essential fatty acids are because we can't make the fat and we can't make protein, but we can make glucose. So our body, through gluconeogenesis, it's just amazing that we have all these amazing things in our body, and through gluconeogenesis the body can make glucose. So that's why we say there are no essential carbohydrates. But it doesn't mean that you can't have any carbohydrates if you would like to have carbohydrates in your life. Some of us do really much better when we get rid of the carbohydrates. Some of us need to lower them, and some people can do fine with the carbohydrates that they are having in their life. So I'm not really going to talk about that because I feel like I talk a lot about that. That's what I do for my work, and that's on YouTube. I have quite a few videos that I think will help with that. But what I really want you to understand is that these things, like seeing the sun, is free. Granted, you have to take the time to do it, but I'm telling you, these are free things. Earthing, sun, getting sunlight on your skin, in your eyes. Now, you don't stare at the sun. And like I said, you have to get your hydration and your food and your minerals. All of those things do matter, and I think are important pieces to the whole pro healing plan. But the things that I mean, I've been a great eater for a long time. I've been healing my gut for a long time, 10 years. I think it's my dad died 10 years ago. And that's when I really dug deep into gut healing. And so I've been doing all of these things for a long time. And I think what's making the difference now in my energy and feeling really strong and healthy are the circadian or the quantum things, the quantum biology related. So your circadian rhythms, getting that, I don't know how to say that, getting that right, supporting your circadian rhythms. That's probably a better way of saying that. And utilizing the sun. So utilizing the sun to get vitamin D, utilizing the sun for the information throughout the day to help my body, my cells orient to where I am, what season I'm in, what time of day it is, what my body, what the cells need to be communicating. So I think that is doable. It might sound too simple for a lot of people, but when you're really talking about reflecting, if everything's a reflection, I don't know about you, but I want to reflect back the beauty and the health and the vitality that's available in this world. I want to reflect helping and true, real um, companionship and kindness and those kinds of things. And that does not mean that I cannot be a real bitch, because can be I can be one of the angriest. I can make a picnic a stressful event, is what my family says. So I'm really working on that. I'm working on that like everybody else is. I'm on my own healing journey, just like everybody else. And I'm paying attention to these things, these harmonizing with nature, harmonizing with the environment that I'm in, so that my body can do what it needs to do to be healthy and have vital energy, so that I can keep working on all these other things, these scared parts of my personality that also show up. And I think it's all good. It's all important. The scared parts of our personality and the harmonized parts of ourselves. I think harmony is probably the best word, is really what I'm looking for at this point. I could change my mind. I like to do that. But right now that's what it feels like. It feels like more harmony. And the more grounded and the more earthing I do, the more grounded and clear and healthy I feel, the more connected I feel in my community. It's really quite fascinating how it all is a reflection. So the more I heal myself, the more I get healing reflected back to me. Amazing. Just truly amazing. So I'm hoping that this information is at least helpful and inspiring maybe to say, well, these are some things that I could do. And even if you're not doing them now, the idea is not to beat up on yourself about that, but to be, really gentle and kind with yourself around like what you're able to do and how to find the solutions. So that's what I do with people. We say, okay, well, because the season will change. And so just as you're figuring out sunrise, that shifts with the seasons. And so it shifts very slowly. But, you know, but it does shift. So what you're able to do in the summer, sometimes you can't do in the fall because you've got kids or your work changes or whatever it is. So we work on the solutions for that. How can we figure out how to get you get your cells, what your cells need to heal given the life that you have, given all of the commitments and things that you've got to get done? What are the ways that we can figure that out? And I'm really good at figuring out resources where there seem to be no resources, or figuring out solutions where there seem to be no solutions. And so I'm happy to try and do that for others. In my work, I do that. In the classes, we do that. But you can also, if you've got questions or things, you can always contact me. And because I'd love to add the answers, or at least some of my feedback to those questions when I do some of my videos. So happy to have you reach out anytime. And if you're interested in learning more about how to create your own plan, then please think about or consider joining me for one of my pro healing classes where you get to work on your own pro healing plan. It's really fun workshop, and my plan is to do those 6 times a year. So about every other month, I'll do one of those. We'll see how it goes because I've changed up how I do the classes. So I'm constantly changing the next class based on the last class and the questions that come up and what seems to be helpful for people. My whole goal is to be helpful, to provide helpful information and maybe even inspiring information. So that's why I love to do the interviews, so that I bring you inspiring people to hear. And I really thank you. Thank you to the people who are listening to the podcast, who are watching the videos on YouTube, and even the little, the posts on Instagram. I'm more active on Instagram than I am any other social media platform. And I just appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the engagement. It really lights me up to be able to do the work and to have other people responding and engaging. That's why I do it. That's what lights me up. So thank you for being here, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.